How other people talk in English. Alex often felt a heavy sigh escape his lips whenever English conversation arose. He wondered, why I always make mistakes. It seemed an insurmountable mountain, every word a potential pitfall, every sentence a minefield of grammatical errors waiting to explode. He yearned for fluency, yet fear often paralyzed his tongue. His confidence wavered daily. He'd observe others, amazed by how other people talk in English. Their words flowed effortlessly, pronunciations crisp, grammar seemingly intuitive. He watched with a mixture of admiration and despair, feeling his own efforts were futile. The casual banter of native speakers felt like an alien language, a code he couldn't crack. The struggle to remember vocabulary was particularly acute. He'd learn new words, only for them to vanish overnight. How to remember words became his constant mental refrain, a puzzle with missing pieces. Flashcards helped somewhat, but true retention felt elusive, a fleeting dream. He needed a better system. Frustration mounted. He tried various courses, but the public speaking aspect always terrified him. He felt judged, his accent a spotlight, his hesitation a glaring fault. This fear was a significant barrier, preventing him from engaging in real English talking practice outside structured lessons. He felt stuck. One evening, scrolling through language forums, Alex stumbled upon an intriguing idea: how to talk at home to yourself. It sounded peculiar, even silly, but a spark of curiosity ignited. Could practicing alone truly make a difference? What did he have to lose by trying something new? He decided to commit. His first attempts at "start talking at home" were awkward, whispers in his empty room. He felt self-conscious, even though no one was listening. He described his day, narrated simple actions, and even argued with himself in English. It felt strange but surprisingly liberating. This solitary practice became his safe haven for English talking practice. There were no prying eyes, no judgmental ears. He could stumble, repeat, and correct himself without embarrassment. This freedom allowed him to experiment with sentences and vocabulary he wouldn't dare try in public. He started small, a true, start step-by-step talking approach. First, simple greetings, then describing objects around his room. He'd narrate his morning routine, articulate his breakfast choices, and comment on the weather. Each small success built a tiny piece of confidence inside him. To address the memory challenge, he integrated how to remember words into his solo practice. He'd pick a new word daily, use it repeatedly in his monologues, and connect it to vivid imagery. Spaced repetition apps became his best friend, reinforcing the new vocabulary. He also realized the profound impact of input. He discovered listen and practice was not just about understanding, but also internalizing rhythm and intonation. He started listening to podcasts during his commute, focusing not just on meaning, but on how native speakers phrased ideas. He'd mimic sentences, repeat phrases, and try to match the speaker's cadence. This active listening helped him bridge the gap between passive understanding and active production. He began to notice subtle nuances in pronunciation and natural speech patterns, an essential step forward. The forums also emphasized why reading is important. Alex had always viewed reading as a chore, but now he saw its potential. He started with simple English news articles, then moved to short stories, looking up every unfamiliar word. Reading provided context for vocabulary. Reading exposed him to diverse sentence structures and idiomatic expressions that spoken English might not frequently offer. It broadened his understanding of grammar in action, solidifying concepts he'd struggled with. He slowly developed a more sophisticated internal model of the language. The combination of how to talk at home to yourself and extensive reading began to show remarkable results. His internal monologue became more fluent, his thoughts more readily forming in English. He was building muscle memory for speaking, even if only silently. He learned that the way of learning English was not a single path, but a mosaic of interconnected activities. Each piece, from listening to reading, speaking to remembering words, contributed to the larger picture of fluency. Consistency, he realized, was paramount. He continued to grapple with why I always make mistakes, but his perspective shifted. Instead of seeing errors as failures, he began to view them as signposts. Each mistake highlighted an area for improvement, a specific grammar rule to revisit, or a pronunciation to refine. He started keeping a small, mistake notebook, noting down errors and their corrections. This proactive approach transformed his frustration into focused learning. Mistakes became data points, guiding his practice rather than halting it, a crucial psychological shift. The listen and practice component deepened his understanding of natural pauses and stress. He learned that understanding English wasn't just about individual words, but the melody of the sentence, the emphasis placed on certain syllables. This refined his own speaking. He found great joy in exploring how other people talk in English through various media. Movies, TV shows, and even YouTube vlogs became his informal classrooms. He observed casual speech, slang, and cultural references, making his learning more authentic and engaging. To improve how to remember words, he started associating new vocabulary with specific emotions or vivid personal experiences. This made the words stick much more effectively than rote memorization. He also used new words in his daily self-conversations. His English talking practice at home evolved. He started recording himself, playing back his monologues to identify areas for improvement. This gave him objective feedback, allowing him to pinpoint awkward phrasing or repeated grammatical errors. It was an honest self-assessment. The recordings helped him understand how other people talk in English from a new angle, by comparing his speech to theirs. He noticed differences in speed, intonation, and clarity, giving him concrete goals for improvement. His self-awareness grew immensely. Start step-by-step talking extended beyond his room. He began to cautiously participate in online English forums, typing out his thoughts. This was a low-pressure environment to practice constructing sentences and expressing opinions, a bridge to spoken interaction. The way of learning English for him became less about perfection and more about progress. He celebrated small victories, correctly using a new idiom, understanding a complex news report, or holding a brief, confident exchange with himself in the mirror. His initial fear of "why I always make mistakes" slowly dissipated. He understood that mistakes were part of the journey, not a destination. Every error was a lesson learned, a stepping stone towards greater fluency, building resilience and determination. He continued to immerse himself in listen and practice. He specifically sought out content related to his hobbies, making the learning process enjoyable and relevant. This kept him motivated, proving that learning didn't always have to feel like tedious work. The consistent English talking practice at home, combined with listening, transformed his perception of himself as an English speaker. He started feeling more natural, less strained, when trying to articulate thoughts in the language. Confidence was quietly blooming. He realized why reading is important wasn't just for vocabulary, but for understanding the flow of discourse. Reading narratives helped him grasp how stories are structured, arguments are presented, and characters are developed, improving his own storytelling ability. The concept of "how to talk at home to yourself" became a core pillar of his learning strategy. It was his personal language lab, available 24/7, without judgment or pressure. This freedom accelerated his comfort level with speaking. He actively studied how other people talk in English by analyzing their choice of words in different contexts. He paid attention to register, formal versus informal, and adjusted his own vocabulary to be more appropriate for various situations. To reinforce how to remember words, he started creating short, imaginative stories using his new vocabulary. This active recall and creative application cemented the words in his long-term memory, making them readily available during conversation. The idea of "start step-by-step talking" proved invaluable. He didn't rush into difficult conversations. Instead, he built a solid foundation of basic communication, gradually adding layers of complexity as his confidence and skills developed. His English talking practice began extending to short, brave interactions in real life. Ordering coffee in English, asking for directions, or making small talk with tourists. These were nerve-wracking but exhilarating moments, testing his progress. He continued to reflect on "why I always make mistakes," but instead of dwelling on them, he quickly analyzed and moved on. This resilience allowed him to recover faster from errors and maintain momentum in his conversations. Listen and practice became his way of staying connected to the language. He discovered various English accents and adapted his ear to understand different regional pronunciations, enhancing his comprehension and reducing potential misunderstandings. He deeply appreciated why reading is important for its role in developing an intuitive sense of grammar. He noticed patterns, understood sentence constructions, and gradually absorbed rules without explicitly memorizing them, through repeated exposure. The way of learning English became a joyful exploration rather than a rigid study plan. He allowed himself to follow his interests, integrating English into his daily life naturally, making the process sustainable and genuinely enjoyable. He firmly believed that "start talking at home" was the genesis of his progress. It removed the external pressure, allowing him to nurture his internal voice, to experiment and make mistakes privately before venturing into public speaking. He noticed a significant shift in how other people talk in English. He could now follow conversations more easily, pick up on nuances, and even anticipate responses. The language was less of a mystery and more of an open book. His methods for how to remember words evolved. He started using mind maps and visual associations, connecting words to images and concepts. This multisensory approach further solidified his vocabulary, making recall quicker and more reliable. He understood that English talking practice wasn't about perfection, but persistence. Every conversation, every self-monologue, every listening session was a brick in the wall of his fluency, gradually building a strong language foundation. Why I always make mistakes was no longer a paralyzing thought. It was a catalyst. He embraced the concept of failing forward, understanding that each error brought him closer to mastery, refining his understanding and pronunciation. The impact of listen and practice was profound. He found himself picking up natural expressions and common phrases, integrating them into his own speech, making his English sound more authentic and less textbook-like. He recognized that why reading is important provided the depth and breadth necessary for advanced English. It exposed him to complex ideas, sophisticated arguments, and a richer vocabulary that casual conversation might not always offer. The way of learning English for him was a holistic journey, encompassing all skills. He understood that neglecting one area, like speaking practice or vocabulary building, would hinder overall progress, emphasizing a balanced approach. Start step-by-step talking gave him the courage to join an online conversation group. His initial shyness was still there, but the foundation built from his home practice allowed him to contribute, even if hesitantly at first. His confidence soared with each successful interaction. He saw firsthand how to talk at home to yourself truly translated into real-world speaking ability, proving that private practice could lead to public confidence. He began to confidently articulate how other people talk in English and share his observations, teaching others based on his personal journey. His insights became valuable for fellow learners struggling with similar issues. To master how to remember words, he even started playing word games in English, making the learning process fun and competitive. This playful approach reinforced retention and expanded his active vocabulary effortlessly. His English talking practice became a source of joy, not dread. He found himself thinking and even dreaming in English, a clear sign of deep immersion and growing fluency. The language felt like a natural extension of himself. He no longer questioned why I always make mistakes, but embraced them as feedback. He proactively sought correction from native speakers, transforming potential embarrassment into valuable learning opportunities, showcasing his newfound resilience. Listen and practice evolved into analyzing accents and regional variations. He enjoyed identifying different pronunciations, appreciating the diversity of English spoken worldwide, further broadening his linguistic horizons and comprehension. Why reading is important propelled him into reading English novels, truly immersing himself in storytelling. This not only expanded his vocabulary but also enriched his cultural understanding and appreciation of English literature. The way of learning English, he discovered, was deeply personal, yet universally applicable. It was about consistent effort, embracing mistakes, finding joy in the process, and understanding that practice, especially solitary practice, yields remarkable results. Alex, once a timid learner, now spoke with newfound confidence, a testament to his dedication. He proved that "start step-by-step talking" and "start talking at home" are powerful catalysts, transforming linguistic dreams into tangible reality. His story became an inspiration, demonstrating that patience, persistence, and a willingness to embrace imperfection are the true keys to mastering any language. He urged others to begin their own journey, believing in the power of consistent self-practice.